What's up, guys? Day 7. I've already dosed. Just want to get rolling. So, I had a really good question today that I can, well, last night. The question was, can you go into fatigue management strategies for, like, strongman carries, like heavy ass yoke and farmers and front carries and all that shit, and how do you manage it? So, this is a good one to talk about because it applies for squats and deadlifts, in my opinion, as well. So, first of all, we've talked about some of the ones and zeros of programming. One thing that's not a 1 and 0 of programming that a lot of people think really, really matters is you got to get X amount of shit in per week. You know, if you want to get good at strongman, you got to figure out a way to load stones and deadlift and press log and strict press and front carry and side carry. How do I manage to do all these things in 1 week? The week repeats next week, and I got to do all these things. No, you don't. You can go every other week on a lot of things. You can go every third or fourth week on a lot of things. My favorite thing to do, because, and the reason this can work for squat and deadlift as well, is because if you're developed and your techniques are optimized, you should be about as strong on both. Now, I know that's not always the case in competition and for powerlifting and stuff like that, but what I'm trying to get at is, you can only move so much weight with your lower body, right? So, you pick your best variation that you can move the most amount of weight. You can ideally, at least with my athletes and myself, I'm able to have that variation. For me, it's like a box squat with like 15% accommodating resistance. So, the best ever. So it's something that's set up to be very safe, that I can move the most amount of weight possible, and I can do it for more weeks in a row, right? So what I do is I take my max of uh, the safety squat, box squat, and I can calculate all my percentages for front squats, deadlifts, stiff leg deadlifts, any lower body variation. I take my percentages from the box squat, and the reason that works is because of the accommodating resistance. And you can also make it work, like, for example, you know, I would run like stiff legs at like 40% of that, right? So the point is, I'm getting away from the question a little bit. Well, the point is, you want to find a system, and you want to find something where you can purify your percentages and take it from one lower and one upper, and you know use that to get the rest of your numbers. And this is going to make things a lot more consistent and just a lot easier to track and progress each training block. Now, back to the question specifically in strongman. How this relates is, your techniques for carrying something, no matter what you're carrying, they should be able to build off of one another. So I find a lot of progress with doing yoke and or farmers, right? A side carry 1 week, the next week you're working on your front carries. And a lot of times what I'll do is, like, after the main work of the side carries, we might do like a really light front carry for more distance or speed, or a backward sled drag, or something to kind of like, kind of, like the front squat equivalent to a back squat, where you're trying to just hammer in more shit with more distance or more volume on something that's way easier on your body, but you're just kind of continuing with that. And then same thing goes for the front carry day. Usually, the next week when you're running front carries as your main thing, it's like a medley or something really hard, and you're actually trying to. I wouldn't side carry those days. Front carries you can get away with every week, but side carries, especially yoke, it's so fucking hard on your pelvic floor. It's so fucking hard on your low back. It's so hard on everything, especially when you're getting up into numbers that are like 100+% of your fucking deadlifts and squats. You know what I mean? Like that, and that's typically how it is. Like if I'm an 800-pound deadlifter, I'm probably running 800 to 900 pounds for my regular old fucking volume work, right? At least 700, and that doesn't sound like a lot on a yoke, but that's a fuck ton of weight on your body, no matter who you are. And so, and same thing with the farmers. Like if you're running 300 pounds a hand, that's 600 pounds that you're moving, and it might be easy. And little guys are doing that these days, but it doesn't change the fact that relative, it's still 600 fucking pounds taking a toll on your body. So I really, really encourage with strongman specifically, get away from the frequency and the specificity so much. You just worry about carrying, once a week hard. And switch that up and just work on all of them, and just trust that your carries are going to build off of one another. Your fucking Conan's carry is going to help your bag carry. Your bag carry is going to help your keg carry. Your keg carry is going to help your fucking Conan's carry. That's all. You know what I mean? You're moving like this with weight, you're going to get better. Okay? So that kind of relates to the squat and deadlift, but you can see how, like for example, if I'm running one of those, I hate saying this because I'm gonna say it the right way, but you might misinterpret it the wrong way and hear it the wrong way. But if you're running those more conjugate style programs, which has nothing to do with West Side Barbell and Louis Simmons, conjugate or conjugation is simply, whether it's a year or a small training block or 1 week to the next week with a variation, all conjugate means, or conjugation, is like in cells, right? When cells reproduce, or when cells have to communicate with another cell, they are, all the information is stored in here, and they're merging and they're transferring that information to here so that this cell can do a different job with the same information that this fucking cell has processed, right? So, for example, a great example would be how I conjugated the progress of my box squat into my deadlift, right? So what I did that last year when I added like 70 pounds to my deadlift was I ran max effort on my box squat each week, and then I ran speed work, but it was technique work in my opinion. I wasn't, I was moving explosively, but it's not about speed work. It's about just repetition and drilling the technique. And basically what I did was I ran my box squat everything above 75%, and I ran my deadlifts at 50% bar load with 15 to 20 to maybe sometimes 25% accommodating resistance. Whether that was bands, reverse bands, chains, it doesn't matter. If you have that system and you're always putting 20% in accommodating resistance on your weights, and you're keeping that cycle going, you can, like, you can choose any variation. You can literally walk in after you kind of purify through that first block. You can start to walk in and be like, well, my body doesn't feel like doing that variation, so I'm going to do this variation. I'm going to add or take away whatever accommodating resistance to make this appropriate and fit into the system. And you can just do that, and you'll get fucking better. It doesn't matter if you're doing side handle farmers or trap bar or stiff leg deadlift or deadlift from a deficit or box squatting or front squatting, whatever. if you find, if you've got 100% here and 0% here, and you find where those variations fit best, that's that's going to help you a lot with your programming and tracking variables and movement selection and just peace of mind and everything. So long rant on that question. I know I went way further into that than I should have, but you know, long story short, if you want to manage your carry fatigue, just don't try to hit everything every single week. Take your carry session from one week, let it build into the next week, and just keep going in whatever pattern you find best fits. So, thanks for watching. I'm gonna finish eating my carbs, and I've got strict pressing, stone pressing, and my normal shoulder and tricep accessories. So, I'll follow up with those.